is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. This is episode 333, part number 1 for your July 3rd, 2020, the start of yet another 4th of July holiday, and I thank you guys so much for joining me right here for your weekend. Hopefully it's safe. Hopefully you guys have a cold beverage in your future, maybe on a beach somewhere. Whatever you guys are doing, I'm glad you're spending some time with me this holiday weekend. A little bit of a different show today, man. Normally, when the show goes up on Friday across all platforms, YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, all those platforms. Normally, when the show goes up on Friday, I typically surround the show with SmackDown news and rumors, being that I will just be right back here tonight to cover the SmackDown show that we'll see tonight, which at this moment includes AJ Styles versus Drew Gulak for the Intercontinental Championship, Matt Riddle in a one-on-one interview with Michael Cole, and Sheamus toasting to Jeff Hardy. So that is all we got planned right now for SmackDown. Doesn't really give off a vibe of, oh my god, I can't wait to watch SmackDown. Oh my god, I can't wait to see what happens on SmackDown. Doesn't really give off that vibe, but here we are. It's SmackDown. It's Bruce. I don't expect anything more than that, to be quite honest with you. But normally, I surround the show on Friday with SmackDown news, and being that last week's SmackDown show wasn't really a SmackDown show because it was an Undertaker Tribute show, there was no news coming out of the show. So today, I got a mixed bag of news and rumors for you with one big story about a huge fan favorite in the WWE that is set to retire from WWE at 31 years old. And that is Kyrie Sane. And the big story today is that Kyrie Sain is on her way out of WWE. First, it was reported that her status in the company was very complicated, that she was going back to Japan, and that she would be an ambassador for WWE overseas. Then it was reported as of this morning on Friday that Kyrie Sane is leaving WWE, retiring from WWE, and heading back to Japan. I got the entire story on that, as well as a major storyline that involved Kyrie Sane that did not happen because Nia Jax is fucking terrible. Nia Jax is an awful pro wrestler. That's why Kyrie Sane and the plans for Kyrie Sane surrounding her and the Women's Championship on Monday Night Raw now are absolutely done. So we're going to go over that today on the show. That is the big story coming out of WWE on this Friday. I also got updates on the Velveteen Dream following his car accident last week. Update on the status of Summerslam. Update on the status of Renee Young and what her big announcement was on Wednesday. And no, she was not joining AEW. I got management reportedly furious now in a follow-up to what happened on Thursday that I reported on my live stream with NXT. Now WWE management is furious at the NXT talent, Indus Sher, for spoiling Adam Cole versus Keith Lee at Great American Bash Night 2 next Wednesday. What is everybody saying about that? We'll go over that story as well. Vince McMahon purchased Evolve. Not surprising there. I mean, Evolve was pretty much on its deathbed anyway, but WWE seemingly bought all of Evolve for one reason and one reason only, and we'll go over that as well today. And an exclusive from Ringside News today about Monday Night Raw and the writing process. As of late, since Bruce Prichard took over, it is described as Monday Night Raw's writing process is internally falling apart. Just like Monday Night Raw itself is falling apart. Again, I am not surprised by this news whatsoever. Also news following up on Tessa Blanchard, Mickie James coming back to the WWE. Mike Kanellis is a fucking idiot. We'll go over why she is a fucking idiot here on the podcast. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me on what should be a very good show right here on Off the Script. Follow me on social media, man. At JD from NY206. That is on Twitter, and Instagram. I will be live tweeting during SmackDown tonight, so join me for that. And then, obviously, for the review later on this evening. If you missed any of my reviews in any of my shows this week, go and check it out. Everything you need is linked down below in the description of this very video. Monday Night Raw, AEW Live with my boy Jesse. We went over Fyter Fest Night 1. I did NXT Live, Great American Bash review, live on YouTube. That was on Thursday night. Go and check that out. Clearly, you're here right now watching Off the Script, and I will be live for SmackDown after the show goes off the air as well later on this evening. I'll be back on Saturday with part 2 of Off the Script as well, so we got a whole weekend full of news and rumors, and JD, even when there's a holiday, doesn't stop working for you guys. Make sure you guys check out the Patreon page if you want to show some extra appreciation. That is patreon.com/JD from NY206. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. And I've been pushing very hard the iTunes podcast. If you guys own an Apple device and you guys prefer to listen to the podcast on the audio platforms instead of watching YouTube and watching the video version of the podcast, I really want you guys to take an initiative here, and I would really, really appreciate it. And we're going to go over some of the messages later on in the show that I got from a bunch of kind people leaving reviews on the iTunes platform for the podcast, man. The ratings play a huge factor into what is going on with the podcast. We actually broke the top 20 yesterday and are now amongst the elite in the top 20 on iTunes for pro wrestling in the United States. There's some big names up there, man. Some really, really professional names up there. And I'm glad that I'm sharing the top 20 with those names. And it's all because of you guys. I would really, really, really appreciate if you guys do own an Apple device. Go and listen to the podcast on iTunes. Leave a 5-star rating. Leave a comment. And I'll shout you out right here on the show. You guys are single-handedly taking the podcast up the ranks on iTunes. And I want to thank you guys for that. So that's why I've been pushing that. And if you guys prefer that platform, link is down below in the description of this very video for not only iTunes, but Google and Spotify as well. So thank you guys for all of that. Today's podcast is brought to you by The Ridge. Ridge.com/script. Use code SCRIPT at checkout for 10% off. We'll talk about them a little bit later, but I want to thank them, as always, for being with me right here on the show all summer long. Let's get into the top, man. Start off easy. Ease our way into the big subjects. Renee Young, she revealed her big announcement on Wednesday morning. People were speculating, is she pregnant? Is she positive again with COVID? Is she leaving the WWE? It had nothing to do with any of those situations. Renee Young revealed her big announcement that she teased on Sunday and revealed it on Wednesday. The WWE announcer says she has written a cookbook, and the manuscript was handed over today. Renee Young says she's been talking about this for years, and the book will include over 70 recipes. She also noted that the book will come with a music playlist to help people set the mood when they cook something from one of her recipes. Young said the name of the book and the release date will be announced at a later time, but she is leaning towards calling the book Holy Bleep, but that might not make the cut. Congratulations to her on the news, obviously. I love to be in the kitchen. I love to cook. So I might actually take an interest in this. You know who's not going to take an interest in this is Titus. Titus doesn't want any competition, bro, really. If he knows someone else in the same company that he is employed by also has a cookbook, that might actually take away from his catering business. We can't have that. Titus is and should be number one, not only for all the catering needs in WWE, but he should be number one in our catering hearts. Titus. You gotta love Titus Catering, bro. It's been a thing for years. Very underappreciated. You gotta get on board with Titus Catering. And I'm sure Jon Moxley is loving being at home if Renee Young, his wife, is a master chef in the kitchen. Maybe she should have her own Food Network show. Maybe we won't be talking about Guy Fieri here as much as we do. Maybe I'll just tune over to watch Renee Young instead of watching the Moronics when they come out on Monday Night Raw. Or Nia Jax when she comes out on Monday Night Raw. Or when Charlotte wants to robot herself down to the ring. I think that would be fantastic. Maybe we should get a petition together to get Renee Young on the Food Network. Right next to Guy Fieri, back to back. Imagine watching Triple G and then going into Renee Young. Holy bleep. I think that sounds like a winning combination if you ask me. Anyway, she said on Instagram, announcement time. Finally, it's here, and I can share it with you guys. I wrote a cookbook. I finally handed over my manuscript today. Been writing and cooking my butt off for 3 months, and I couldn't be more excited for the rest of the process to get this book to you lovely people, end quote. Should be interesting. I'll check it out. And congratulations to her. And I'm glad she is at the final stages of getting over and getting back to good health after her scare of COVID-19. So that is that. Just a side note, because Renee Young had COVID and she tested positive, Moxley, as we detailed, tested negative twice. But he's not going to be on Fyter Fest Night 2. That was actually taped on Thursday. And he will not be defending the title against Brian Cage. That has been postponed to July 15th in what AEW is calling now Fight for the Fallen. So that is that. So Tony Khan taking every necessary precaution to keep not only Moxley and the roster safe, but also looking out for Renee Young as well. So that is that. Update on the status of Summerslam in August. Now, we all know WWE is working very hard, and I don't think it's going to happen, to get live fans in a building for SummerSlam. WWE would prefer not to run SummerSlam out of the Performance Center. They don't want it. They want an actual building with live fans, and Vince McMahon has it in his mind that he wants to be the first to run a building with live fans in attendance during a pandemic. He wants to be the first. That's all he cares about. This is why he has been putting his roster at risk. This is why he has been pushing everybody in the worst way possible, being very negligent with their health. He wants to show everybody watching at home, he wants to show the general public that it is safe to come back to WWE shows, and he wants live fans. Not only for SummerSlam, it was supposed to actually happen in Lakeland, Florida at the end of July. That's obviously not happening, with U.S. cases now reaching over 50,000 per day for the COVID-19 virus. Now, WWE has an update on SummerSlam, or not WWE, but the update coming out of WWE in regards to SummerSlam is coming from WrestleVotes. This year's SummerSlam pay-per-view is getting closer. And usually it sucks. It has not really felt like SummerSlam in many, many years. The biggest party of the summer usually ends up being the lamest party of the summer. And although WWE originally announced that the show would take place in Boston, Massachusetts at the TD Garden, COVID-19 hit. And now what they will do in regards to the event and a location has become a big talking point backstage in WWE. It's been reported that WWE Chairman and CEO Vince McMahon is determined to have a live crowd for SummerSlam. Since the outbreak of the virus, WWE has been holding TV tapings and pay-per-view events on a closed set out of their Performance Center. WrestleVotes on Twitter provided the latest on SummerSlam. A few weeks ago, the belief within WWE was that the company would find a way to hold events with fans. Now it's looking like WWE might be forced to hold the show at the Performance Center. As of this writing, they have yet to make a decision on SummerSlam. WrestleVotes tweets out, and I quote, recently asked for an update on SummerSlam. Source said 2 or 3 weeks ago he was certain WWE would find a way to do it with an audience. Today, very much unsure. As badly as they don't want to have the event at the PC, unfortunately, that's very much on the table. Decision not yet imminent. WWE has halted plans to hold events with fans again due to a spike in cases of the virus. However, WWE recently listed a live TV event for Monday Night Raw in September. I think they are jumping the gun way ahead of what they really should be thinking about. Everybody in the WWE just now had just began getting tested for the virus. They just now mandated masks in the WWE after the mask protocol was mandatory coming out of Orange County and pretty much all across every state that you are in. Masks are not really mandatory, but mandatory in a sense where you're not social distancing, you need a mask. You're gonna go do your daily errands, Target, Walmart, this, that, food store, just things around the neighborhood, and you gotta enter a business, go get a coffee at Starbucks or Dunkin', you gotta go in wearing a mask. Everybody's gotta wear a mask when you are not allowed to social distance, okay? But WWE here just started implementing all of these rulings as of a couple of weeks ago. And the more we move on with this thing, I would not be surprised to see more cases of COVID pop up in the WWE. And they can't hide that shit. That has to be known to everybody. And WWE only did what they did because they want to show that the shows are actually safe to come to. Masks weren't mandated. Testing wasn't being done. Only temperature checks were being done. They wanted to pretend that they were against the virus, that they were immune to the virus. Meanwhile, they're upsetting everybody at the same time. They're making an unsafe work environment for everybody else. They're clearly pissing off the rest of the roster. Some of these men and women don't want to show up to work, but have to show up to work because they're forced to show up to work because WWE, they know at the end of the day, they will use this situation as a way to either take them off TV or bury them one way or another. WWE is using this fear tactic in a way to get everybody back to work because they know that if they don't show up, WWE can bring the axe down whenever they want. They're not going to outright say that, but history is not that difficult to figure out when it comes to WWE in regards to those situations. Now, Sami Zayn. Just look at Sami Zayn. He was stripped of the Intercontinental Championship. If you're not a Roman Reigns, or if you're not a Kevin Owens, or if you're not somebody of a high priority in WWE, they will take you off TV and they will bury you. They will bury you. So the fear coming out of the WWE is big. But WWE doesn't realize that every action that they've taken in this situation is pushing those people who might have been on the brink. They want to be there, but they want it to be safe, but at the same time, they don't want to be there. They're pushing these people to a situation where they don't want to be there, period. And they don't want to work with the company, period. I don't think WWE realizes that this could have a lasting effect on everything that they do. Say, for example, somebody in AEW is a free agent and they want to go to the WWE, or someone on the Indies is a free agent, or someone from Impact or Ring of Honor is a free agent and they want to come to the WWE. How likely are those people going to want to come to the WWE now, knowing that WWE is being negligent with everybody's health, well-being, and their family's health? They don't give a shit. At the end of the day, they only wanted live fans and they only wanted a portrayal of their shows on TV to mimic what they wanted to do. No masks, everything being safe. Look, everything is sanitized. It's safe for fans to come back to the show. And what happens when a fan or fans come back to the show and WWE has an outbreak with fans when they've blatantly lied to everybody that it was safe to come back to the show? At that point, I can't help WWE. Nobody can help WWE. They're on their own. Everybody in the community, everybody on social media, everybody that does a podcast has said exactly what needs to be said, have ranted about this to no end, and have given our takes on what WWE should be doing. They've listened to nobody. They've only listened because now it's being forced upon them to do the right thing. If there was no mandates, if there was no mandatory orders, then WWE wouldn't even bat an eye. They'd continue doing what they've always done. So imagine if fans came back into the building and there was an outbreak of fans that got COVID that attended a WWE show after they blatantly lied and pictured this to be, a lot better than it really is. Doesn't really sound like a very enjoyable outing with the family, a night out with the family at a WWE show. Lawsuits could happen. WWE doesn't want that headache. Just follow the fucking rules. Do the right thing. Then these are the same people that are upset that Taz cut a shoot promo on them and threw them under the bus on Dynamite when he cut a promo on Jon Moxley with Brian Cage. They run a sloppy shop. Things like that wouldn't be said if you did the right thing. Who's to say Taz doesn't have friends and family working for the WWE? I know he has friends in the WWE. He's sticking up for his friends by saying what he said on Wednesday night. They run a sloppy shop. He gives a shit about their well-being. They should do the right thing. If they did the right thing, Taz wouldn't be saying that WWE is running a sloppy shop. They deserve the criticism up and down, left and right all day long. You can't be upset at Taz. You should be upset about yourself. You should be upset that the fact of the matter is the roster doesn't respect anybody in management for doing what they did. You should be upset at yourself that the roster doesn't even trust the fucking people running the company. But you're upset with Taz because he mentioned it on the other show. Do the right thing, and we wouldn't be in this situation to begin with. Being mad at somebody else. Look at what you've started. You have nobody to blame but yourself. SummerSlam is going to be out of the PC. They're not doing anything. They're not doing anything. It's going to continue to get worse. Whatever you're hearing on TV, whatever fucking narrative that they're pushing, it's going to get worse. There's going to be another lockdown come the fall and the winter. You are going to be forced to quarantine in the fall and winter months. You will be able to do nothing until they start pushing the narrative of a vaccine out there. That's exactly what is going to happen. WWE is not running any live shows. We're not going to watch the NBA Finals and the playoffs with fans. We're not going to watch the tournament in the NHL with fans. We're not going to watch tennis and golf and NASCAR and NFL with fans. We're not going to watch MLB baseball in the middle of the summer with fans. It's America's game, right? The pastime of the summer. No more. WWE thinks that they're better than every other major sport in the United States, in the world. So much so that they think they can have fans in attendance. If everybody else can't have fans, then what makes you think Vince McMahon's going to be able to have fans? WWE is running SummerSlam out of the Performance Center. They're not going to any other city or any other state, especially now with states locking down. If you're flying in from Florida, which WWE is right now primarily working out of, they're running every operation of their TV programs out of Florida. So no matter where WWE goes, everybody's got to stay quarantined in these states, which is now upping the number. Started with New York, started with Connecticut, started with New Jersey, now Pennsylvania, and 20 other states now are joining that list of states where if you fly in from Florida or fly in from California, you need to stay quarantined in that state for 14 days. WWE can't do that. How are they going to get around that? All the brain power, all the stupidity that exists in WWE management, you will not be able to get yourself out of that one. Just suck it up and do it at the Performance Center. But maintain all the rules and regulations that now have been brought upon you. And do the right thing. Right now, it's too little too late. I don't give a shit what they do. The fact of the matter is they were forced to do what they did against their will. Because they would have never done anything to make everybody safe and happy in their own work environment. It took government, and it took online, and it took outrage from social media and in the wrestling community for WWE to do what they needed to do. SummerSlam will be out of the Performance Center. Do not even bother to think that SummerSlam could be in Boston in September. Will they move it back? Will it be in a different state that allows gatherings? No. No. Again, whatever narrative that they're pushing on TV, through the media, it's going to get worse. July, look at the upticks in cases. July, August is going to be worse, and it's going to continue to get worse in September, October, November, December, as it gets colder. This is their plan. This is their plan. Update on the Velveteen Dream. I was excited for plans for Patrick Clark on NXT. They were going to be teaming him up with my boy Dexter Lumis. And I was very excited to see what they would do as a pairing against the Undisputed Era. And I was very intrigued by that pairing going into NXT TV as being a part of that very weak tag team division. But Velveteen Dream has been under accusations in this speaking out movement, which then it was reported Velveteen Dream was in a car accident on Monday, last Monday. And then he was released from the hospital on Friday, and we heard this news during SmackDown. Now, I don't know the reason for the car accident. We don't know much of it. We don't know if he was drunk behind the wheel. We don't know the extent of the car accident. It might not have even been his fault. But fact of the matter is, Velveteen Dream right now he ain't doing too good. He ain't doing too good. Now, Velveteen Dream, Patrick Clark, was involved in a car accident, released from the hospital the same day. Raj Giri, well, it says the same day here. This was noted on Friday, that Velveteen Dream was in a car accident on Monday. He was released from the hospital that same day on Monday, but it was reported that he was in a car accident on Friday. We didn't hear about it in the community till Friday. Raj Giri at Wrestling Inc. reports that the accident happened around 4 p.m. after Dream's car hit another car after he failed to stop at a red light. The driver was injured, but there are no details on how severe those injuries are. Dream was cited, but will not have to appear in court. So there appears to be, or it's reported that there was no influence of alcohol or drugs of any kind in this situation. Dream has not appeared on WWE shows in recent weeks, and is currently not advertised for the next 2 weeks of NXT shows themed as the Great American Bash. No mention of Dream on Wednesday, no mention of Dream next week, as the show is already taped, to compete against Fyter Fest coming out of AEW. Dream is alleged to have sent inappropriate photos to underage children. Last Friday, before the news of the car accident broke, there was talk in the company about his days being numbered. As of yet, we have not heard anything coming out of WWE. WWE has not announced what their decision is on Velveteen Dream or his status with the company, but they've been talking about the speaking out movements. Triple H mentioned something about the speaking out movements in a mandatory meeting with NXT UK, which we'll go over in a little bit. They've been taking all of these allegations seriously. They've even fired some people. They have suspended people due to the speaking out movement. They're taking it seriously, and the company has stated that everything that has been alleged about their wrestlers is indeed being investigated. Dream is yet to issue a statement on the recent allegations, but he did issue a statement back in April when the first accuser came forward. He wrote, "Be assured, I did not communicate inappropriately with anybody. A private photo of mine was shared without my consent or knowledge, and I'm working with a third party to look into this matter." End quote. All we have to do is wait, folks. We don't have any other news regarding Patrick Clark. All I can say coming out of this situation is that I'm hoping for the best, because I do not want to see a talent like him absolutely wasted for the stupidest fucking reason imaginable. He's throwing away an entire career of prosperity, an entire career of just being on top as one of the biggest names that could possibly come out of this company, coming out of NXT, to achieve status on the main roster. I don't want to see him wither away and become completely irrelevant in the world of professional wrestling when we all know that what he has to get to the top is unbelievable. And I hope everything is false. I hope he is absolutely just washed clean of everything here, and we can get Velveteen Dream back in a state where we all know and love the Velveteen Dream. That's all we can hope for. Other than that, you're being an asshole by speculating. I'm done speculating. We don't know. And until a decision is made on whether he's guilty, whether he's innocent, and then at that point, WWE keeps him on the roster or lets him go, then at that point, we can all talk about the career of the Velveteen Dream in NXT and what potentially he could have went on to be. Right now, we can't do that because we don't know. Right now, he is innocent until proven guilty. And that's all we can hope for. Hopefully, everything is washed clean sooner rather than later, and we can get our dream back. Triple H sent a warning to the NXT UK roster after the speaking out movement. I just mentioned before that they're taking these allegations very seriously. It's being reported that Triple H issued a warning to NXT UK talent regarding allegations made during the speaking out movement. He actually held a mandatory conference call with NXT talent on June 30th addressing this movement and these situations. As per the Wrestling Observer, he informed talent that when it comes to such serious allegations as the ones we've seen, the company has zero tolerance to any charges, provided there is irrefutable evidence to them. So it looks like there was irrefutable evidence in regards to Jack Gallagher. He was released and then washed away completely from the history, from the annals of WWE history. The company's policy previously has been to suspend talent upon charges and then fire them upon conviction or exoneration. Bullshit. Absolutely bullshit. Enzo was fired. Enzo was fired. Now, WWE can cite that Enzo was fired because of backstage behavior and he was a bad influence over the roster, and they didn't want to have anything to do with him in regards to how he was acting backstage. But we all know that these allegations come out against Enzo, and then next thing you know it, he's gone. He's gone from the WWE. So this statement and this policy is complete bullshit. Let me read that again. The company's policy previously has been to suspend talent upon charges, then fire them for conviction or an exoneration. Enzo was proven innocent. So why was he fired? Then they conducted an investigation, and it came out that Enzo was cleared of all the allegations, but then lost his job because some fucking bimbo wanted her 15 minutes of fame and then ruined this guy's career. Ridiculous. That policy is bullshit. Absolute bullshit. If the company deems the evidence serious enough, it can also act itself instead of waiting for charges or convictions. WWE acted upon themselves and they fired him wrongfully. They fired him wrongfully. It was said that Triple H's message came across as a warning. Over the last few days, Ligero, Travis Banks, and referees Joel Allen and Chris Roberts have all been released. And Joe Coffey, who I believe at the last NXT UK takeover was in a title match with Walter, he was suspended. They did not release Joe Coffey. They only suspended Joe Coffey. So whatever is going on with Joe Coffey, they might be conducting right now an investigation. And right now, we haven't heard anything coming out of the Velveteen Dream situation. WWE didn't really make anything known about Patrick Clark. They didn't come out here and say he's suspended and they are furthering their investigation to find out whether he's guilty or innocent here. They haven't made anything in regards to the Velveteen Dream. Not one peep. Meanwhile, they're doing all of this with Joe Coffey and everybody else coming out of NXT UK that has been terminated and suspended over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Makes you wonder why they haven't done this type of action, haven't taken this course of action with the Velveteen Dream yet. I don't know. Joe Coffey was suspended. Joel Allen and Chris Roberts, not familiar with who they are. They're referees. I don't really know them by name or face, but I did see a clip of David Starr, and it was a clip, obviously, that he was ousted about in the Speaking Out movement, where he was just talking in a very nasty way about women and sexual acts with women. And then he had his two friends there. I believe one of them was either Joel Allen or Chris Roberts in that video, just really speaking in a very derogatory way about several other female wrestlers in the UK scene. I think one of those guys is the guy that was in the video and then obviously was rightfully terminated from all of this situation that happened there. I don't know. Triple H is taking it upon himself now, and when Daddy H says something, you better fucking listen. If you value your spot in NXT UK, or you value your spot under Triple H while he's watching over NXT and NXT UK, you better be on your best behavior. Because they're clearly making an example of everybody here that was fired, and they're telling you, we will not be afraid to let you go. So hopefully everybody is now on their best behavior after this is moving on. The whole movement is moving on. There are still people speaking out about it, and rightfully so. You can speak out and be free of this burden that has been bothering you for so long. But WWE and other companies are taking all of this very seriously. And the cleanup in pro wrestling has begun. The purge in pro wrestling with all these fucking people that have done so much wrong over so many years, it is finally starting to be cleaned out. And Triple H said, listen, this is a warning. If you're with me and I find that you did this, goodbye. So good on Triple H. Speaking of Triple H, WWE management. WWE management is reportedly furious at Saurav of Indus Sher for spoiling Adam Cole versus Keith Lee. Now, if you did not watch my NXT live stream, I did go over the spoiler. I gave everybody a fair warning, but some of you really didn't give a shit. Actually, most of you didn't give a shit. There were some of you that actually left the chat and decided not to hear it because you want to genuinely be surprised. I am not going to be going over the situation here. I'm not. I will do my best to not spoil anything for anybody, even though right now we got 6 days or so from when it was leaked until next week's show. You know, the fact of the matter is you're going to hide yourself from social media for 6 or 7 days, for an entire week, and not listen or hear anybody talk about this. You can try, but the fact of the matter is you're trying to evade something that probably is going to come your way anyway. It always does. Just like me this morning. I was spoiled about AEW's Fyter Fest Night 2 results because some fucking idiot, one of the fans that was brought in, apparently they brought in sponsors of Daly's Place and sponsors of the Jacksonville Jaguars, did AEW management, to sit all the way up top in Daly's Place. Those people were kept away from the roster. We talked about this on Wednesday's NXT review as well. They brought in fans, sponsors, that were kept away from the actual talent, and this particular group of people, one of them, apparently, went to Reddit and actually leaked all of the Fyter Fest Night 2 results, which I could not avoid, because I seen it online. I seen it on Twitter scrolling. So, the fact of the matter is, if you want to, I guess, avoid these spoilers from Keith Lee and Adam Cole, don't go online. But I don't think that's very likely. For most of you. Some of you are able to have the willpower not to go online. But I don't think it's going to be a situation where you're going to be able to avoid it. Now, WWE management is reportedly furious. WWE developmental wrestler Saurav of Indus Sher made a huge mistake when he uploaded a photo from the end of the winner-take-all match between NXT North American Champion Keith Lee and NXT Champion Adam Cole. The problem with uploading the photo is that the match has not aired yet. This is the main event on next week's NXT show and is scheduled to close out next week's Great American Bash that will end up going up against Fyter Fest. Now, later in the evening, another NXT developmental wrestler tweeted out about the photo, and in what appeared to be an effort to help save face for WWE. I find it weird how, number one, Saurav of Indus Sher Instagrammed a story about the ending of this match. Who the fuck is following Indus Sher on social media? I mean, if you're following Indus Sher on social media, you may be a bigger NXT mark than I am. Because I can't see the interest in following either one of these guys on social media. Then, number one, he's a nobody. He's a nobody right now. He is an under-the-radar talent in NXT. Then we got another developmental wrestler, EJ Duca, I believe his name is. Don't know who he is. He might be a recruit coming out of the Performance Center. Nobody knows who this guy is. I don't know why anybody in the community would be following him. He's a fucking nobody. So why would you be following him? So case in point, two nobodies are A, tweeting out the end result for Keith Lee Adam Cole match that is taped, set to air next week. And number two, we got another nobody trying to save face for WWE. Seems very bizarre to me. He says this. He said there were two endings to the match, and fans would have to tune in to find out how things play out. He's like, we don't run a sloppy shop, Taz. That's exactly Taz's verbiage coming out of Dynamite. We don't run a sloppy shop. Two endings, two stories. Find out next week. Yes, because I need this fucking guy to tell me what I already know. I have been a part of WWE live at Full Sail. My one trip to Full Sail University to watch a live taping of NXT. I've seen, personally, WWE dip their hand into the double ending pool. First of all, it was Johnny Gargano and the Velveteen Dream. Velveteen Dream beat Johnny Gargano in the first outcome. And no doubt about it, WWE did a second ending with Johnny Gargano pinning the Velveteen Dream and walking out with the championship. So WWE, with something like this, I am not surprised that there would be two endings. I'm not. It doesn't need two endings because there's only one right ending. Keith Lee winning the championship is the right ending. Adam Cole retaining the championship is the wrong ending. And I mentioned this on Thursday. I don't know how many of you watched on Thursday or give a shit about NXT, but Adam Cole and Keith Lee are two big fucking names that everybody's anticipating on the main roster. Adam Cole being first with the Undisputed Era. Now, the situation is two endings, yes, but there's only one right ending. Adam Cole and Karrion Kross is not the match that needs to happen. Adam Cole will not look good in the ring against Karrion Kross. You might as well just hand the title over to Karrion Kross at that point, wrapped in a nice big red bow. Polish it up a little bit, shine it up real nice, and just give it to him. Because that's exactly what Adam Cole and Karrion Kross is going to end up like. Look at what he did to Tommaso Ciampa. Do you expect Adam Cole to do any differently against Karrion Kross? No. On the other hand, you got his title reign. You want his title reign to be washed away? You made such a big deal talking about this guy being the greatest NXT champion of all time. Do you want the greatest NXT champion of all time to be squashed in 5 minutes by the next big thing that management sees in the company? I don't think so. Not only are you disrespecting Adam Cole as a performer, but you're disrespecting the reign and the championship that he has carried on his shoulder for over 365 days. Doesn't make any sense to me. Whereas you got Keith Lee, if he was to win this match next Wednesday, I mean, having him as a double champion, yeah, it really doesn't make any sense. But WWE having Keith Lee as a NXT champion going up against Karrion Kross, Keith Lee in defeat would make Karrion Kross look like he was in a war. If Keith Lee loses this thing, him losing to Karrion Kross is much more of a believable situation in the NXT Championship just situation on NXT. Keith Lee losing in defeat is going to make Karrion Kross look that much better. And Keith Lee losing the championship to Karrion Kross is so much better of a situation than Adam Cole losing it. Because when Keith Lee loses to somebody the same size as him, he's bigger than Karrion Kross. If Keith Lee is losing to someone like Karrion Kross, the sheer size of both of these guys, it's not going to have a negative effect on Keith Lee. It's a much more believable thing. I could see Karrion Kross beating Keith Lee. I could see Keith Lee beating Karrion Kross. I can see Karrion Kross annihilating Adam Cole. I cannot see Adam Cole beating Karrion Kross. It's just the right situation. Now, was it done on purpose or was it sheer stupidity coming out of the Indus Sher group? Saurav. Is he really that stupid? I don't think so. I really don't think so. I don't want to dip my fucking finger in the conspiracy pool here, but clearly WWE has groomed everybody here to just be on the straight and narrow, to do the right thing. Sometimes there's a slip up, but this is a slip up that I just don't believe anybody could be that stupid to make. I really don't. You know you're taping a show. Why would you take a fucking picture and post it on Instagram knowing that the show is not live? Blatantly ruining it for everybody next week. Such a big match. Double title, winner take all. Why would anybody do that? I don't really understand that logic. So on one hand, I want to believe that people coming out of the company are really this stupid because WWE. On the other hand, I want to say that maybe this was done on purpose. Triple H might have said, take a picture of it. Or management said, take a picture of it. Throw it up online. Let's see who bites. Let's see if it makes the rounds on the dirt sheets. pull it after a couple of minutes. You did your job. Good job. Then obviously it blew up everywhere. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody was talking about it. Was it done as a tactic to get more buzz in regards to the main event next week? Because Adam Cole has a great title reign right now in NXT. You don't want to not tune in. How is he going to lose it? How's the match going to end up? All these questions coming out of that match, you were intrigued by going in. And now with this, now that Keith Lee, and Adam Cole is happening, and the spoiler is out there, you want to see exactly how the spoiler unfolded. Was it the right spoiler? And now with this guy coming out, EJ, a developmental recruit, now with him saying, there's double endings. There's 2 endings here. You got to watch to figure out which story is going to unfold. Seems like a huge promotional marketing ploy by WWE. It doesn't sound like somebody fucked up. It sounds blatant, as if WWE is trying to manufacture interest in a show next week when they know next week is AEW's strongest night for Fyter Fest. I don't know. I don't really understand the logic here. But I do know a bullshit artist when I see one. This reeks of bullshit. I believe it was all planned. I believe it was thrown up there, taken down to generate interest and get everybody talking about Keith Lee, Adam Cole, the title, and NXT. This guy came out, a fucking nobody, saying, oh, we don't run a sloppy shop. AEW jab right there, defending WWE against AEW, number 1. There's 2 endings. There you go. That's all I needed to hear. There's 2 endings. There's 2 stories. Watch which one unfolds. I don't need to watch which one unfolds. If WWE was right, they do the right thing in the first fucking ending. This seems like a complete bullshit tactic by WWE. Brian Alvarez said on Instagram, or about the Instagram post, it was not planned and WWE was not happy about it. Of course they'd say that. Of course they'd tell the biggest dirt sheet in the industry, oh, you know what? It wasn't planned. We're upset at the guy. They're not going to blatantly tell Alvarez and Meltzer, yes, it was a strategic plan to take more eyes away from AEW for NXT next week. What did you expect them to say? The Instagram post got a ton of attention on social media on Thursday, so it's possible that the buzz surrounding the ending of the match may help NXT next week. I think NXT is going to win the ratings next week anyway, just because of the match itself and the reward at the end of the match. 2 of their biggest championships. Who's walking out, winner take all, with both titles. I mean, that sells itself. I don't know what the main event next week for Dynamite's going to be. I'm assuming it's Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho. And if that is the case, I fully expect NXT to beat AEW in the ratings. Why wouldn't they? I could tell you that it's been made abundantly clear to me that although it seems you cannot possibly be dumb enough to take a photo of the aftermath and put it on your Instagram, that is the fact of what happened, and the company was furious about it. I don't believe it. I absolutely do not believe anything that came out of the story. I do not. It is a marketing ploy by WWE to get more eyes on their product away from AEW, and they're now covering their tracks with all of the major dirt sheets getting involved in this story. There's only one outcome here, folks, and that is the right one. Keith Lee wins, drops the title to Karrion Kross because it protects Adam Cole, and Karrion Kross looks better by beating Keith Lee, and Keith Lee taking a loss to Karrion Kross is not going to be as bad as if Adam Cole was to take a loss from Karrion Kross. Simple fucking mathematics here. Simple wrestling creative booking. Ridiculous. Use your fucking brains. Vince McMahon. He's purchased Evolve. I'm not surprised. Apparently Vince McMahon is actually making more money in the midst of the pandemic than anybody else in his bracket of millionaires, billionaires. Guy is actually making money. Where everybody else is losing money and firing people and closing up shop, Vince McMahon is making money. He's making more money. Skyrocketing fucking millions in his bank account. I guess that Saudi and the TV network deals with USA and Fox are really coming in clutch for WWE. Biggest heist of the century, Vince McMahon and that Fox deal and the USA deal. The biggest heist of the century. How you could pay all that amount of money for such garbage television is just unbelievable to me. It really is. Anyway, Vince McMahon purchased Evolve. It's official after weeks of rumors about Evolve. News has come out that WWE has purchased the promotion. I seen this floating around the internet about a week and a half ago. I didn't say anything on it because there really wasn't any details on it. Now there's details on it. PW Insider reported the news today on Friday, and WrestlingNews.co has confirmed the story. Evolve was used as a feeder system for WWE, and there had been talk of Evolve shows airing regularly on the WWE Network when they announced additional paid tiers. However, rumors have been swirling in recent weeks about the company having financial issues, with WWE heavily rumored to have purchased them. The purchase of Evolve gives WWE one thing and one thing only that they only cared about, and that is their video library. That is all they cared about. That is the exact reason why they purchased Evolve. The tape library includes names like Mia Yim, AR Fox, who I don't know how is not in NXT right now, Bobby Fish, Eddie Kingston, the Young Bucks, Sabu, Daniel Bryan, Austin Aries, Zack Sabre Jr., Ethan Page, Trent, Cedric Alexander, amongst many others. Matt Riddle, Ricochet, Keith Lee, Adam Cole, Austin Theory, Roderick Strong, you name it. They all, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, you name it. They've all been there. They've all had a part in evolving. Evolve, even with WWE buying them, and the most, I guess, biggest thing coming out of this is their video library. Evolve is not closing their doors. WWE will continue to run shows with Evolve under the Indie Wrestling Names banner. Now, whether or not they're going to be operating like they have been doing out of Queens and other various cities across the country, I don't know when that's going to happen, but they will be continuing shows under the Indie Wrestling Names banner. We don't know as well if it's going to make its way to the WWE Network, because WWE Network right now is giving everybody a free kind of minimized tier for the network. You actually got to pay, and I don't know why this wasn't done beforehand, you actually got to pay the $9.99 to get all the most recent WWE pay-per-views, the takeovers, NXT UK takeovers, all of the major events. You got to actually pay the $9.99. You're not going to be getting that shit for free anymore. So they're giving you, like, I guess, Table for Three. They're giving you some Raw, SmackDown, NXT segments. They're giving you Raw Talk. They're giving you a bunch of content that nobody really gives a shit about on there, just to kind of give you an introductory to the WWE Network. So Evolve might actually still be a part of their plan to introduce like Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4 of the WWE Network. We don't know. The Wrestling Observer newsletter reported that Sal Hamawai will be running the new Evolve program. Gabe Sapolsky is now out of Evolve and is now a new creative mind behind NXT. Now, that has been the way for quite some time. Gabe has been working with Triple H, and Gabe has been working with NXT for a very long time now. So I'm not surprised by that move whatsoever, but now that they're still operating under the Evolve banner, WWE wants Gabe to run NXT with NXT management, and being that Sal has worked under Gabe all of these years in Evolve, they picked him to continue running the shows while they take Gabe and use him for creative on NXT. Sounds like a good move to me. Sal, who ran Evolve with Gabe since the inception of Evolve, will continue to promote shows under the WWN banner with his FIP, Shine, and ACW brands. Gabe Sapolsky will not be involved any longer, as he is expected to be working full-time for WWE as part of NXT Creative. It is reported that WWE could sign some Evolve talent to developmental contracts. This could see a new influx of students coming into the Performance Center while it's still technically closed for operations. Evolve was actually in bad money issues after WrestleMania. They needed cash to pay back fans and other people who lost out when WrestleMania weekend shows were canceled. Taking away those WrestleMania shows was just too much of a financial hit for them to take, considering the large percentage of their yearly income that was supposed to result from that weekend. So I'm not surprised by any of this. And it was always a feeder system for WWE. WWE knew what they were doing when they first got involved with Evolve. They knew that company was going to be a feeder system for NXT, and that's the way it worked. That's the way it worked. And now with the video library and Evolve being purchased, WWE owns everything coming out of Evolve, and that's all they ever cared about anyway. Even the influx of talent that are coming in from Evolve and might be heading to the Performance Center, that isn't even a concern for them. That really isn't a concern because they're not going to be taking everybody. The only thing that WWE ever wanted was its video library. And that is where they're going to make most of their money. In the production of vignettes and documentaries. That is what they do best. That is what they love to do most. And what they pretty much excel at. They want that in their vault. Because with that, you could do basically anything. And that's exactly why they purchased Evolve. Not for anything else but the video library. And also, look at the names on this list. You got Mickie James, who's a WWE superstar. AR Fox, who I said, mega talented. Don't know why he's not in NXT. Bobby Fish is an NXT talent. Eddie Kingston, he's in NWA right now. The Bucks, Sabu. The Bucks, obviously, AEW. Sabu, I don't know what he's doing nowadays. Austin Aries, Zack Sabre Jr., Ethan Page, Trent. Those guys are not with the WWE. So for anybody else to maybe go out there and inquire about clips or vignettes or some footage from those particular superstars for whatever they might want to do in the future, now they can't because WWE owns it. So WWE, again, monopolizing every aspect of the business, even with the purchase of Evolve, because they've known everybody now that's big in the world of pro wrestling has once upon a time stepped through Evolve's doors. They found that to be the most, I guess, monetarily important thing to them. Good business move. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You can shit on Vince McMahon all you want. He knows exactly what he wants and how to get it. Thus, Evolve now being owned by WWE. I wish WWE would actually own the fact that Monday Night Raw is complete garbage. I really do. Same thing with SmackDown. There was an exclusive coming out of Ringside News about WWE's writing process for Monday Night Raw and how it is internally falling apart. WWE planned to record 2 episodes of SmackDown on Thursday. If that happened, I have no idea. Clearly, it happened because we're getting a show tonight. And Raw, as of right now, more than likely, Monday Night Raw is being taped. As you watch this and listen to this, Monday Night Raw will be taped out of the Performance Center on Friday. The issue is that they don't have 2 shows ready to go for Monday Night Raw, whereas SmackDown, they're all set to go. Ringside News has learned that WWE still doesn't have scripts for Raw completed as of last night. Since Paul Heyman's firing, both writing teams have been combined into one. I don't know how many people that is, but I'm assuming the number has to be about 50. There might have been 30 writers on each team. Now, a new backstage procedure was introduced. Some stories were shuffled around as well, which caused issues. Ringside News was contacted by someone in the company to inform them that Raw is still not done, and it's a complete mess. It was told to us that all of the assignments given to the writers were turned in 2 days ago, says Ringside News. But Vince McMahon had yet to take a look at a lot of the script. As of late, last night, the first script for Raw was completed. But week 2 is partially complete and nowhere close to being done. They cannot move forward without Vince McMahon's approval. They could, but he doesn't want any other way. They could move forward. They've had it done. But Vince McMahon and management doesn't want it that way. Everything that makes it on WWE television is approved by McMahon beforehand. The problem is that he hasn't given the second night of Raw much time. They cannot move forward without Vince McMahon's approval. I find that to be incredibly weird. If you have a writing team, what the fuck are you paying the writing team for? You're paying the team to write your shows, so you don't have to worry about it. Vince McMahon is a diseased human being. There is something not right there. You can hear all these stories every single week and say to me, well, man, I know Vince McMahon personally. He ain't like anything that's depicted online, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. There's a human being, Vince McMahon, and then there's Vince McMahon working in Gorilla and running WWE. This version of Vince needs to go away. I'm not here to talk about the personal person that Vince McMahon is. I'm here to talk about the business person that Vince McMahon is. And the business version of Vince McMahon is not someone I want to see running this fucking company anymore. The writers that he pays weekly has the show done. We don't know what their ideas are. We don't know if they're bad, they're good, they're up here, they're down there. We don't know if they're better than what Vince and Bruce are coming up with. More than likely, they are. You never know. Because Vince doesn't give them the opportunity to get their ideas on television. But Vince won't approve anything. The script's been done. Vince can't give his okay because he's just shunned the script. So what that means is Vince doesn't want his writers there. Bruce doesn't want his writers there. So why are you paying them? Sounds like to me, Vince begrudgingly took this one script. How much of that script he changed? I don't know. But it sounds like to me, Vince doesn't want to see another script. Vince wants to write the show with Bruce, which means everything that we've seen on television, more than likely on week 2, will not make sense. I highly doubt the show is going to be even watchable at that point. They cannot move forward without Vince McMahon's approval. You're a fucking writing team. Give it to somebody to give it to Vince and have that person nag and nag and nag about the show. What is Vince doing? Where is his attention? What else is Vince being bothered with? You're there. You're performing. You're filming a TV show. Everything else at that point is secondary. This is how, when you watch Monday Night Raw and you ask me, well, JD, why didn't you like the show? And I pinpoint to you why this, and that didn't make any sense. Now you know why. Because of stories like this. When you realize to me and you come to me on Twitter and say, JD, this didn't make any sense. Why is this happening? I'm going to cite you this fucking article from Ringside News. Internally falling apart. Internally falling apart. Additionally, I'm not done. Additionally, Ringside News was told by a concerned employee that they don't have anything. When Vince hasn't finalized his input, there's nothing that has even been chartered as a course. Unfucking believable. They don't have anything when Vince has mandated that his input is final. And he hasn't given them anything. He hasn't said a fucking word. Ringside News was also told, I've never seen the writing process and the writing team fall apart like this. There have been some disorganized times in the company's history, but this is a complete lack of anyone having a handle on this or a vision. I'm fucking heated. I am absolutely heated. I get so much shit in the community for being negative. I get so much shit for saying what I say week in and week out when I cover Raw, when I cover NXT, when I cover SmackDown, when I'm on here on Friday and Saturday with Off the Script. I get so much shit because people are fucking blind. I don't even consider you a normal human being at this point if you're just willingly accepting shit from WWE because, oh, why don't you just enjoy it? It's not made for people like you anymore. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm asking for something as simple as an NXT product before NXT went to shit in its own right. An NXT product that focused on intensity and realism and long-term booking and logic and character development. Oh, I'm sorry that I am just so bizarre to you and everybody else in the community that I want such simple things in life, and we're not being given simple things. Then you got the fucking people who are out there who say, why don't you just enjoy for what it is? They're working so hard by working on a fucking show in the middle of a pandemic, when I know for a fucking fact that the people working on this show don't even want to be there. Can you imagine? Can you imagine working for WWE in the middle of a pandemic, and you're working, and you're trying to make the show watchable, and you're trying to make sense of 16, 17 segments with 4, 5, 6, 7 revolving storylines. You're trying to work in the middle of a pandemic on a show that you're taping back-to-back weeks for. You get everything done 3 days beforehand, and Vince won't look at your work? Meanwhile, here's the kicker, folks. He asks you to come to work when you probably don't want to come to work in the middle of a pandemic, risking your health, risking your well-being, risking your family's health and well-being, to come to work, to do shit for WWE, and then have it be ignored. And then have it be ignored by Vince because he's got other things a little bit more important than the second night of recording Monday Night Raw. How fucked up is that situation? Why you're even there? I could say that all day long. Why are you even employing these people? My other question is, a follow-up question would be, how long are you going to be able to put up with this? I can't imagine this situation being worse than what you've dealt with before. This is the absolute fucking peak of it being as bad as it could ever be. Because right now you're in the middle of a fucking pandemic where there was an outbreak in the same building that you're working out of. This is by far and away the most negligence I've ever seen coming out of this company. It's eternally falling apart. I don't need ringside news to tell me that it's eternally falling apart. Just watch the fucking show for 3 hours. Nothing makes sense. Nothing about the show makes sense. You might be lucky that you get 2 or 3 segments that actually say, you know what, that was actually a good segment, or this guy did something right, or that guy looked good, or she looked good. But man, oh man, I don't need ringside news or fucking anybody else to tell me that the show's internally falling apart. Just watch the fucking show. Why are you so quick to defend these people? As if you own fucking stock. As if Vince McMahon's paying you to be a social media influencer on Twitter and Instagram to say so many good things about Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. There's some fucking idiotic accounts on Instagram that review Monday Night Raw via their Instagram wall. 9 out of 10. The fuck are you watching? One of the best pay-per-views in the history of this company I can go back and watch. Whether it be the 1993 King of the Ring or the 2006 ECW One Night Stand. I wouldn't even give those shows a 9. I wouldn't give any of those shows a fucking 9. 9 is a damn near perfect score. You mean to tell me that Monday Night Raw, with you rating it a 9, or SmackDown, you rating it a 9, was a near perfect show? The only thing that is near perfect is your fucking stupidity. Your IQ is near perfect 0 levels. You have to be shitting me with this. So what is WWE going to do now? Has the show been written? Has Vince taken the script as of this writing, as of this recording? Probably not. He probably knows the script is there, but he's doing what he wants to do anyway because it's his fucking show. Fuck everybody else. How do you feel going home? If you're a creative writer watching me right now, how do you feel going home knowing that you've did absolutely nothing, or you've done absolutely nothing in WWE on this work day today? Come to work, expecting to be appreciated, to write a good show, to get your vision out there, and then you show up to work, you do what you got to do, your work's been handed in 3 days earlier, done already, you're just waiting for Vince to finalize this and tell me what I need to change here so he can finalize it, and then none of what you did even counts, and you showed up to work in the middle of the pandemic for no reason. How do you feel when you go home to your wife, to your kids, to your fucking grandmother, when you lay your head down on your pillow at night? How do you feel knowing that you are not appreciated in the position that you're in right now? This is why I say my gripe is not with creative. My gripe has always been, for years, about Vince and the fucking circus that he surrounds himself with. Now, Clown Prince, Bruce Prichard. Monday Night Raw's writing process internally falling apart. Folks, if you're listening to me, I'm sure you're with me. But for those who are new around here, and you're one of these people that I've depicted here in this segment of the show, and you're one of those people that turns a blind eye and says, oh, don't worry, everything's all right. It wasn't that bad. You're too negative on the show. Open your fucking eyes and watch what we are all watching. WWE is in the worst state and in the worst condition it could possibly ever be in. You are actually a detriment to the product when you go out there and say, oh, this is not that bad. Why don't you give them a chance? Why are you complaining in the middle of a pandemic with these people putting on a good show? Working so hard to give you entertainment. I don't want to hear this shit. This shit was back in March. Now we're in July, where WWE has came out and said that they've only temperature checked and they weren't testing and there was no masks and this and that. And WWE's only agenda is to get people back in the building because they want to be the first to have live programming. Meanwhile, AEW has live fans in the building. Not to the extent that WWE wants, but there's live fans in the building. So on what planet are you going to be first? Open your eyes. You'll realize that what we state here and what we talk about here every single week is exactly what is happening in the world of Vince McMahon. The show is garbage. Please do better. Guys, this week is the 4th of July holiday, and I know you're going to be out and about with the family. You're going to be out and about on the boardwalk, on the beach, at a nice bar somewhere outside, soaking in the sun. I know your wallet game is not where you want it to be. That's why I'm here to help. And today's podcast is brought to you by the one and the only, The Ridge. It's light, it's sleek, and it's industrial. It doesn't fold, it doesn't bend, it doesn't bulge in your back pocket, and it seriously changed not only me, but a lot of people I know. It changed their entire outlook on their wallet situation. It's designed to easily fit into your front pocket as well. I was never the type of guy to carry my wallet in my back pocket, just because I feel more comfortable knowing it's right here in my right pocket. Most people are still using wallets designed in the 90s, carrying around old receipts, gift cards, hotel room keys, pictures that you don't care about. A complete unorganized mess is what I call it. Why have we moved on from large flip phones to smartphones but still carry around the same old beat-up wallet? I don't really get it. Here are the features that I want to highlight about the Ridge. It holds up to 12 cards plus room for cash. It's got a nice cash strap or a nice money clip. There's over 30 colors and styles, including the carbon fiber and burnt titanium. I am a forged carbon type of guy. I really love it. Don't take my word for it. I promote it every single week right here on the podcast, but 30,000 5-star reviews to back up how great it is. The durable materials means each wallet comes with a lifetime warranty. You could buy one wallet and carry it around the rest of your life. The Ridge team is also so confident that you'll like it, they'll let you test drive it for 45 days. You can send it back for a full refund if you don't like it. I don't know why you wouldn't, but that is the case. They'll give you 45 days to try it out, no questions asked. I love the fact that it doesn't bend, it doesn't bulge, it doesn't fold, but the one thing I love about it is the fact that it doesn't scratch, and it has RFID blocking quality, so I know that all my cards and my ID are safe and secure, and you know that you can carry around your wallet just free, not having to worry about any of that stuff. Get 10% off today with free worldwide shipping and returns by going to ridge.com/script. Use code SCRIPT at checkout for 10% off. Guys, get your wallet game up to where it needs to be. Respect the wallet game. Ridge is here to help you with that. Ridge.com/script. Code SCRIPT at checkout. I want to thank them for supporting once again during the summer right here on Off the Script. Moving on with the podcast, man. He who shall not be named says WWE will not be bringing in Tessa Blanchard anytime soon. I don't know why he would say that. I don't think he really understands, even though he wants to understand, even though he thinks he's smarter than everybody else and thinks he's working for the best dirt sheet in the community. I don't think he genuinely understands the people that he associates with. He's a blinded fucking idiot. Tessa Blanchard is ending up in the WWE for more reasons than one. When has WWE ever done the right thing? When has WWE ever thought about doing the right thing? They only want to do the right thing when they are caught red-handed, or when there's criticism on them, they'll do the right thing. WWE is known for being racist. WWE is known for bullying in its own ways with its own tactics. I mean, everything here that we're talking about as far as WWE goes, look at the bullying that WWE has done in its own right to its own roster. WWE's bullied them to come to work in the middle of a pandemic out of fear. When has WWE ever thought about doing the right thing? Why would they give a shit about Tessa Blanchard bullying anybody? Now, I know Tessa Blanchard's situation is a very sensitive one. I know people personally that are not fans of Tessa Blanchard anymore. I don't really necessarily care about Tessa Blanchard. Is she a great pro wrestler? Absolutely. I think she's the best women's wrestler in the world. But that doesn't make her a best human being. Now, WWE already sent out feelers to Tessa Blanchard. She wasn't even a free agent for 2 days, and they already sent out feelers. So, of course, they're interested. And as soon as anybody else shows interest, then WWE is going to get all fucking into a hissy fit, and they're going to ramp up their interest because everybody else is ramping up their interest in Tessa Blanchard. That's the fact of the matter, folks. That's the way WWE operates. But they already sent out feelers to Tessa Blanchard. Now, we don't know what Tessa's going through. She lives in Mexico. I believe she is married to Daga. According to this report by Pro Wrestling Sheet, they are not married yet, and she doesn't want to leave Daga and fears that she will not be able to return before their wedding. I thought they were already married. So I might have been misinformed, or I might have looked at something in a wrong way. But I thought she was already married. She also lives in Mexico. She doesn't want to travel if she doesn't have to. This may be a situation where she revisits it for her own good when things maybe get better. Maybe we revisit this in the fall. If she has to leave Mexico and go to Florida, then that's not going to be a situation that she might want to be putting herself in. Florida right now is a hotbed for everything COVID. Why would you want to travel to Florida and leave Mexico where you're comfortable with your husband and you're living your life? And you know that you will find work. She's too good not to. I don't think that she's going to AEW. I already discussed this. AEW is not going to sign Tessa Blanchard because I really do feel deep down that the ramifications of suspending Sammy Guevara are really hurting AEW. I really do. I think there is a certain group of people out there that have really taken a disliking to AEW because of what they did to Sammy Guevara after comments made 4 years ago. Now, I could be wrong on that, but I would not be surprised if that was the case. AEW is not going to sign Tessa Blanchard because Tony Khan is actually involved with what's going on. He has done such a great job at doing the right thing. Bringing in Tessa Blanchard would absolutely reverse all of that right. And I believe Tessa and Cody had a situation when she was on the Indies before she went to Impact. I believe Tessa had a situation where she got involved with Brandy and Cody and called them not so nice names. So who knows if Cody even wants Tessa Blanchard in AEW. Maybe Tony wants Tessa in AEW and Cody says no. Maybe Cody is going to be convinced that Tessa is right for AEW. I don't think at the end of the day that AEW is right for Tessa Blanchard. Just based on everything that Tony Khan has done and the fact that there really is no division for her to come on into and really work with. As soon as she comes in, she's already a world champion. And you can't have someone come in and automatically be the world champion because there is nobody else at her level. Meanwhile, if she goes to NXT, she has several people she could work with, and WWE could build a beautiful division around Tessa, because right now, there really isn't anybody outside of EO that is a number one woman in that division. You got some nice role players, but there really is nobody up to EO's level. Tessa comes on in, she's easily number 2, or in some cases, number 1. I think that could be great. I think it's a right move for her to go to WWE. We all know that no matter where she goes, when she shows up, everything that happened to her is going to follow her. She could debut in the fall. It could be fall 2019, 2021, 2022, 2023. It doesn't matter. Everything is going to follow her regardless of what happened. So WWE wanted her for the longest time. WWE, let her go because of attitude issues. I don't even necessarily believe that story. They might have let her go to do some maturing, and now they want her because they know what type of value she is to women's wrestling. And I don't think the bullying situation is really going to hinder her getting a job with WWE. When has WWE, again, ever done the right thing? They only do the right thing when they're caught. So we'll see what happens with Tessa Blanchard. It might be a situation where she sits out the rest of the year and we see her in the Royal Rumble. Maybe by that time they think everything has died down with COVID and with all of the speaking out nonsense happening on social media. Maybe at the Royal Rumble, they debut Tessa. She wins the Royal Rumble. We get Charlotte versus Tessa at WrestleMania. Sounds like a Hollywood WrestleMania match if you ask me. But I doubt that happens because of her history. Not yet, anyway. Mickie James cleared for an in-ring return to the WWE. She was actually interviewed by Chris Van Vliet. She revealed that she has been medically cleared to return. However, COVID hit and put her return plans on hold. Now, she went out. She had an actual ACL injury, torn her ACL. She underwent surgery last July, and she was sent to Birmingham, Alabama. And you know when you go to Birmingham, Alabama, you ain't going back to work anytime soon. At the time of her injury, the belief was that she would be out of action for 7 to 9 months, which gave the timetable of a return to be before WrestleMania 36. Then COVID hit, and then she decided to stay home. She's been cleared for weeks, and WWE has not brought her back. No plans. And she said, you know what? Well, if you don't have any plans for me, I'm not showing up to work. Because what's the sense of me showing up there and you got no plans for me? And then I'm putting my family at risk. The doc had already cleared me, she said to Van Vliet. So I was literally just getting the last 2 weeks to get cleared to come back to the ring, and everything got shut down, so I went home, and I haven't been back since. There's no need to take that risk of going there if I'm not doing anything. I would rather bide my time and wait for the perfect opportunity. I'm going to go in and take all the championships, she said. Sure you are. I'm going to be my own tag team partner. I'm going to go in there and take those championships first, the tag team championships, and then I'm going to take both of the women's championships at the same time. That's what she said to Chris Van Vliet. Kind of cringe, because you know that's not going to happen, but I appreciate the fact that she's not going back to work and really staying her course. Why show up to work? I don't know where she lives. I don't know where she has the family holed up during this time. If she goes to Florida, again, that's another hotbed for COVID-19. You don't want to put yourself at risk. You don't want to put yourself at risk. As soon as you walk into that building, as soon as you go into that state, you're putting your family at risk, because then you can't see your family for 14 days. So it is what it is. Mickie James, she is such a great talent, and how WWE has brought her back into the company and literally have done nothing with her. COVID or not. They weren't even doing anything with Mickie James when she was healthy, when she was there. She was just an afterthought. And she still has so much left to give, and she wants to return. How WWE doesn't utilize her when things get back to normal is just a crime in its own right. You are dying for talent to shine through in that women's division. You can't get any better than Mickie James. Do I think WWE is going to use her in a prominent role when she comes back? Of course not. She's just there, as always, because WWE doesn't know any better, and they love to sign people for the sake of signing people, and that's exactly what Mickie James was signed as. She was signed as, oh, we'll take her and keep her away from everybody else. In the day and age where WWE was just signing people left and right to keep them away from everybody else, Mickie James was absolutely a part of that. Hopefully she comes back. I'd love to see her get one last run, featured in something prominent, put on some great matches, and then go about her retirement. How much more does she have left to give the WWE is the question. But she certainly has enough where she could still be a big role in that overwhelmingly disappointing women's division. So we'll see what happens with that. But the fact that they don't have any plans for her goes to show you how important they think Mickie James is. So if they don't have any plans for her, why she would ever want to come back, period, is bizarre in its own right. Kyrie Sain. This is the big story here, man. Kyrie Sain. How they dropped the ball again. Dropping the ball on everything is WWE. Kyrie Sane's WWE status at the beginning of this week was described as very complicated. Everything about the WWE is very complicated. Plans, creative, always end up in this complicated state. Kyrie Sane was brought to the main roster, and she had personality. Kyrie Sane had a gimmick. Kyrie Sane had her own level of charisma. You knew who Kyrie Sane was because she was labeled as the Pirate Princess. She would come out with the wheel with the steering wheel. She would come out with the telescope that she'd have. She'd come out with a beautiful pirate-esque theme. The Pirate Princess. I loved it. It was great. She was her own individual. And then WWE brought her to the main roster. I don't know exactly what had happened or who said what or when someone looked at Kyrie Sane felt the need to change. But they changed her, paired her with Asuka because they're both Japanese. And then they took all of that charisma, all of that character, and they washed it away. They threw all of that overboard and fed it to the sharks, legitimately. I don't know why. Because it only ended up turning Kyrie Sane into an ordinary WWE superstar. There was nothing special about her being paired with Asuka when they were the Kabuki Warriors. There was nothing about that duo that really stood out to me. The WWE paired them together because of their own wrongdoing. And that's what everybody is not going to see. Oh, they were a great team, JD. Why don't you give them a little bit more credit? I enjoyed their act together. I did not. You killed Kyrie Sane's gimmick, which was perfect in its own right. And then Asuka and Kyrie Sane got paired because of WWE's negligence because they had no other tag teams in the actual division. So I'm supposed to sit here and give WWE a pass for pairing up two women, the level of Asuka and Kyrie Sane's caliber, because of who they are? When I know the reason why they were paired together is because they don't have any tag teams in the division, and even at that point when they were a tag team, the division was still dead. So spare me. It was a terrible decision, and Kyrie looked worse for it. Asuka was always Asuka. Asuka didn't change, but Kyrie changed, and that's something that they shouldn't have done, change Kyrie. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select is reporting that Kyrie's situation with WWE has been rather complicated recently. Sapp also notes that a few months ago, there were plans to have Sane return to Japan and serve as an ambassador for WWE in the country. Kyrie Sane's status with WWE was pretty complicated as of last month. She hasn't been on WWE TV since sustaining a cut to the head during a match with Nia Jax at the end of May, but there were already plans for her at that time. There were plans for Kyrie, other plans for Kyrie at that time. Many have been asking about Sane's contract status. That we haven't heard, but as of May, there were plans for her to return to Japan and serve as an ambassador for WWE in Japan. Now, we have been provided no details as to what that would be and how that would have affected her in-ring career with the company. Now, from what I read over months and months and months of rumors, WWE was wanting to take over several parts of the world. NXT Canada, NXT Australia, NXT Japan was another one, NXT India. WWE wanted to just branch out and take over several regions of the globe with the NXT brand. NXT Japan probably was on that list. There's a lot of talent coming out of Japan that WWE, I'm sure, had eyes on. If you made Kyrie Sane an ambassador for that, that is a step in the right direction because she, in that part of the world, in the wrestling spectrum, is highly respected. So if Kyrie Sane is there doing work for WWE, then in other people's eyes, that's someone that they can trust. So in the weeks that followed, many have gone radio silent about the company with Sane and her status. Many want her to continue wrestling, and of all those we've spoken to, they've had nothing but positive things to say about her. To be clear, we are unsure of how this situation has developed over the past month. Now, Sapp notes that it is unclear if Sane returned to Japan to work as an ambassador, and that would have spelled the end of her in-ring career with WWE. Now, Kyrie Sane, in this Sean Ross Sapp report, everything was labeled as complicated. Now, I read a report as of this morning from The Observer and Dave Meltzer that he stated that Kyrie Sane is leaving the WWE, retiring from the WWE, and heading back to Japan. How many of you are upset about this situation now? How many of you want to look back and dissect what I said and still kind of zing me for it? Everything that they did with Kyrie Sane has led to this point. Everything. bringing her from NXT, where she was booked great, to the main roster with no direction, changing her gimmick, wasting her away, being negligent with her, not utilizing to the ability that she knows she could give the WWE. They looked at her less than nothing. They did not value Kyrie Sane. Everything that I mentioned in the beginning of this report has an effect on where we are today with Kyrie Sane. I want you to know that. Meltzer is reporting in the latest Observer newsletter that Kyrie Sane is going to be returning to Japan with her husband. She's going back to Japan to be with her husband. This was first reported months ago by Meltzer, and there was talk at the time that she would be leaving WWE when her contract expired. Meltzer noted that WWE has known about her wanting to leave by May and possibly earlier than that. Sane was legitimately hurt by Nia Jax recently. Thank you, Nia. Thank you, Nia. When she was thrown into the steel steps during a match on the 6-1 episode of Raw that was taped on 5/26. The show was taped, so WWE edited out the blood and the extra seconds of the match where the referee went to go check on her. Meltzer noted that she hasn't been around for that reason, but she is cleared and is listed for the next set of tapings. And the idea before the injury was to eventually do a career-ending angle that would put heat on a heel that would end up facing Asuka at Summerslam. I wonder who that could have been. The career-ending injury angle may have changed since Paul Heyman was removed in place of Bruce Prichard. Now I know who that is. I knew who it was before I read this article. And now I know even further who that is, who that woman would have been. The person who was supposed to end her career was not Nia Jax. The person who would have ended Sane's career would have been Charlotte Flair or Shayna Baszler. It was going to be Shayna Baszler. Let's backtrack here. Paul Heyman was removed in place of Bruce Prichard. The career-ending injury angle may have changed since Paul Heyman was removed. Paul Heyman loved Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler was a Paul Heyman girl. Now he's not there. Now Bruce is there, running the show with Vince. There have been reports, and I got an additional report tomorrow on the show, that Vince is done completely with Shayna Baszler. Done. So there's no doubt in my mind that Shayna and Asuka was going to be set up at SummerSlam, and Kyrie Sane was going to be a factor in Shayna getting the one-up on both Kyrie and Asuka on her way to the Raw Women's Championship. Charlotte wouldn't have made any sense. You don't need Kyrie Sane to facilitate an angle with Asuka. That was already written, minus Kyrie Sane. So I don't think that was the case. This had Shayna Baszler written all over it. It was also noted by Meltzer that the talk with Sane has not been recently, that once her WWE contract was up, that she would wrestle one more year in Japan and then retire. Now, it was also stated by Meltzer that Nia Jax tossing Kyrie Sane into the ring steps was not the original plan to write Kyrie Sane off of television. In fact, Sane's exit was supposed to set up a challenger, like I said, at SummerSlam. So he did go over this twice in The Observer. Sane, 31 years old, is returning to Japan to be with her husband. This has been in the works for a while, and the company's known about it since May, if not earlier. Sane was injured by Jax in the steel step spot, and this career-ending angle injury, this angle was going to be for Shayna. And that was going to be her way into the Raw Women's Championship. I don't know what you guys think about this, but I don't necessarily sit here surprised that WWE changed plans. It's in their nature to change plans. But the fact of the matter is how they had Kyrie Sane brought up to the main roster, and they did not value her the way that they valued Asuka. To me, they're one and the same. I don't really understand how you could look at Asuka and then not look at Kyrie Sane. I don't know how you could look at Asuka and think, oh my God, she's a great wrestler, and then not want to push Kyrie Sane. Is she too small? Did she come off in a way that WWE management just didn't like? The intensity wasn't there. Why did you even bring her up? What was the need to bring Kyrie Sane up to the main roster if this was going to be the end result? Why does anybody invest in anybody in NXT if this is just going to be another casualty like Kyrie Sane? There are so many in this boat, so many in this situation that are just ruined coming up from NXT, and this is why I'm so afraid of the Undisputed Era. What is going to happen to Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish and Roderick Strong and Adam Cole? Adam Cole, everybody thinks, Adam Cole's going to be fine. Adam Cole's not going to be fine. WWE, I am waiting for them to just completely ruin everything we love about the Undisputed Era. You know it's coming. You know it is coming. Kyrie Sane being used on the main roster out of the last decade may be in the top 5 worst blunders I have seen in WWE. This is an absolute embarrassment on epic levels. The fact that you used Kyrie Sane not once, not twice, but 3 times in a match against Nia Jax, and it resulted in her getting injured twice. Twice! For what? For you to fire Paul Heyman and bring in Bruce Prichard? And then cancel plans for all of this? I don't really know what else to say or how else to release my frustration with this. I'm not even surprised. I'm not even surprised. This is a decision that she has to make on her own. Do you stay with a company that clearly did not value you at this level, work for them, and speak good about them when you know they didn't speak or feel good about you? Do you continue working for these people that don't value you in an ambassador role to do good for them when they never did good for you? Or do you just get up, walk away, go back to Japan, lick your wounds, and wrestle maybe one more year? Who knows in that 1 year, that 1 year may turn into 2 years. We don't know. But the 1 year right now, minimum, is because she's been disenfranchised about pro wrestling because she ended up in Vince McMahon's fucking hands. That's why Sarah Logan walked away. Sarah Logan's going to be back. Not with the WWE, but she walked away from pro wrestling. She has other more important things that she wants to concentrate on right now. Why? Because if WWE didn't treat her the way that she was treated, she would still be in pro wrestling. She might end up in an AEW. She might end up in an Impact. But she's been so disenfranchised and just had all of her passion about the sport ruined because of where she was. Same thing ended up happening with Kyrie Sane. Now she's got to go back home and reaffiliate herself with what she's passionate about. Her husband's there. She trained there. She made a name for herself there. That's exactly what she's doing. So when Meltzer says, yeah, she's going to go back to Japan, 1 more year in the business and then retire. At 32 years old, retire? Now you're thinking that way right now because of what WWE did to you. Go back to a situation where they appreciate you and respect you, and I guarantee you that 1 year is going to ride itself out for 4 or 5 years. If she's able to do so. Hopefully the injury with Nia Jax giving her the fucking concussions in back-to-back weeks. Hopefully that doesn't have a long-term effect on how long she goes in the business. They should be fucking ashamed of themselves. One thing I learned about watching WWE is that they don't appreciate any fucking talent unless they deem them, oh my God. Unless they want you, they don't want you. Maria Kanellis, listen to this fucking story. Maria Kanellis took to Twitter this week to give her thoughts on her release from the WWE. Good riddance. Kanellis and her husband Mike Bennett were one of many who were released in mid-April because of budget cuts related to the coronavirus. Critics have said that WWE could have kept everyone on board while still making record revenue this year, primarily because of TV contracts with NBC Universal, Fox, and their Saudi deal overseas. In one of Kanellis' hashtags, she noted that WWE has been the only wrestling company to release people during the pandemic. Impact Wrestling released some wrestlers, but that was due to other issues unrelated to the pandemic, and that more than likely had to do with speaking out. And New Japan Pro Wrestling is reportedly paying their wrestlers even though they haven't been able to run shows, and All Elite Wrestling has not released anybody outside of suspending a few here and there because of the speaking out movement. Kanellis wrote, "Did you ever hear about the one woman that was released from the WWE during a pandemic 2 months postpartum after being told having another baby wasn't an issue? Hashtag milk money. Hashtag more on that later. Hashtag only wrestling company that released people. Hashtag non-essential family." The hashtag more on that later hints that she may have more to say about WWE, and I really don't give a shit what else she has to say because I'm about to bury her right now. None of these hashtags, nobody gives a shit about these hashtags. They're not trending. Nobody's looking them up. Maria Kanellis is trying to stay relevant while being home, jobless, with 2 kids. Now, let me divulge on this. She's throwing WWE under the bus for releasing her and Mike Bennett during a pandemic. Meanwhile, I have everything written down here, folks, because I take notes on exactly what I am talking about here. The latest run of both Mike and Maria Kanellis in WWE. Okay? You ready for a burial? You're ready for a reason why she really was released and why they did the right thing and why I would have made the same thing fucking 20 times over. Latest run of both Mike and Maria Kanellis in WWE. Signed contract to WWE. Got pregnant with baby number 1. Mike steps away and enters rehab to better himself. Gets taken off the road with WWE. Comes back and gets put on 205 Live. He then tweets about how he's unhappy in WWE and the fact he's on 205 Live. He then gets moved to Monday Night Raw for absolutely no reason, with no explanation whatsoever. Both sign 5-year contracts and decide to be hypocrites and take the money instead after expressing how unhappy they both were with the WWE. Maria got pregnant again, which I'm assuming is why you signed the 5-year deals to begin with, because you thought it was safer with the pandemic going on and the choice of everything going on right now was the one to take the money. Mike wants his release again after absolutely being put in an abhorrent storyline that played out on Monday Night Raw, depicting Mike Kanellis as a cuck, being emasculated. Mike and Maria then got released. Am I in the ballpark? You want to know why you were released from the WWE? Did you not document your own actions according to everything that I just said here? Are you really that fucking stupid? Are you really trying to pinpoint yourself as a victim when you manipulated and tried your best to manipulate the system, went back on your word God knows how many times, complained, want out, want your release, signed new 5-year deals after stating that you want out, took the money instead of actually being a normal human being and leaving a workplace that you're clearly unhappy in? No, but you wanted to have baby number 2, and you thought that was the safer choice. Meanwhile, you sign those contracts and then spring the announcement of baby number 2 on WWE, thinking that you were going to get one over on the company. Mike and Maria Kanellis, A, both deserve each other, B, are trash, and C, if I'm anybody, I'm not bringing these 2 on into the company. They have absolutely no value to anything in any company whatsoever. I'd stay far away from both of these fucking clowns as far as I can. Wants to know why she got released. There you go. Spare your fucking tweets. Nobody wants to hear them. You are guilty of your own actions. Just look yourself in the fucking mirror and realize why you are where you are is because of you and your husband's undoing. Edge details exact spot where he tore his triceps. It is everything that everybody said. The exact spot is exactly what everybody had pretty much predicted. And he spoke to Booker T on his Hall of Fame podcast and said this: I did a springboard into the second RKO. I went, oh, I got the cold sweats, and I feel like I'm going to throw up. That's usually a sign. That's where it popped. I thought, okay, I think I have a little bit more in the tank to finish this out, and we got it finished. Edge also noted that he's glad the injury didn't happen sooner, as it would have been harder to suffer the injury 2 minutes into the match and try to pull out the rest of the match. I guess looking at it that way, yeah. He says, and I quote, I want to finish it on my terms. I'm really stubborn. on that in this run. I really want to try and show that selling still sells. I feel like that's been lost. Don't get me wrong, I'm guilty too. He then talked about being younger and doing wild spots in TLC matches and now wants to teach talent how to extend their careers in wrestling. The belief is that he will be out of action for several months due to the surgery. Who knows when he's going to be out? For all we know, WWE has kept this so minimalized, and they really haven't divulged on anything regarding Edge outside of a picture and a video of the operation actually taking place. For all we know, he could be back by SummerSlam. Because Randy Orton and Big Show are continuing with this angle where he's defending Edge and the bullying done by Randy Orton. Or he's defending the bullying, or he's defending Edge in regards to the bullying about Randy Orton and what him and Ric Flair are doing. For all we know, Ric Flair and Randy Orton could be going up against Edge at SummerSlam, with Ric Flair obviously being in Randy Orton's corner. Or it could be real and legit, and he could be out for months, and we might not see him till next year, and Randy Orton wins the WWE Championship from Drew McIntyre. Because that's a rumored match to take place at SummerSlam as well. We don't know. We don't know if WWE, because they've done this before in the past, that they've kind of minimalized an injury, and then the guy that was injured came back a lot sooner than WWE kind of pretended. So, it is what it is. Edge and the spot, the triceps torn, was exactly what we all thought. It was the springboard off the second turnbuckle into the RKO. About 6 or 7 minutes left before the match actually came to a conclusion. So I give him a lot of credit for actually finishing, because I don't know how he described it, man. He got the cold sweats, and he felt like he was going to throw up. So that's unbelievable that he even had the energy to complete the match and finish it. Crazy, crazy stuff. There was actually a report where Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez reported that the injury came on a reshoot. They actually filmed most of the match in its entirety, and then they went back and redid some spots to really make it perfect. If they didn't redo the spots, some people were actually saying that Edge might not have even been hurt. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. It is what it is. The match was really good. The match was exactly what WWE needed it to be, even though it wasn't the greatest wrestling match ever. But in terms of Randy Orton and Edge, that might have been the greatest wrestling match that they've both ever been a part of. So Edge will be back. We just don't know when. And what Randy Orton does at SummerSlam, we don't know who he will be at the second biggest show of the year against. Like I said, it could be Drew McIntyre. WWE viewership up with the Undertaker Tributes. SmackDown drew a 2.174 million viewership on Fox, according to Showbuzz Daily. The final number is the same as the overnight viewership that was released on Saturday morning, with an average of 2.174 million viewers. The number is up 5% from last week's final SmackDown viewership of 2.072. Now, I'm very iffy on this. Number one, the viewership for SmackDown with an Undertaker tribute, WWE really didn't do much to promote The Undertaker's retirement. WWE really didn't do anything to promote The Undertaker's final tribute on SmackDown. I don't really think The Undertaker is done, that's why. I don't think The Undertaker is done. I don't think The Undertaker's retired. I do think The Undertaker will be back, whether it's at Survivor Series 30 years to the day of his debut or WrestleMania 37. Even if there is a WrestleMania 37 at this point, I don't even know. But I do think The Undertaker is not retired. I don't think the Boneyard match was his last match. But if this was a true tribute, a final farewell to The Undertaker, you'd think it would have had more promotional hype around it and they would have been building to this night. He wasn't even there. I'm sure The Undertaker, Mark Calloway, would want to be there in the ring. He's already exposed his character. He's already opened up that Pandora's box. I don't understand why he wouldn't want to be there for a tribute show about his final match. I just felt like this was just put together. It was rushed and put together for just a ratings draw because they had nothing else going on, because they had no roster to work with because of their own negligence with the COVID-19 shit. And it's amazing, man, how this was the highest rated SmackDown in months. It was the highest rated SmackDown in months. It's amazing how the WWE has half of a show and they drew the highest rating in months. Mostly about The Undertaker. That doesn't really bode well for the actual main roster product. Because tonight, I don't think that they're going to be getting a 2.2. Or roughly a 2.2. They may be back to a 1.8, 1.9. Goes to show you that nobody really gives a shit about A, The Undertaker, B, the current main roster product. That this was the highest rating of SmackDown in months. The show sucks. And Friday's show equally sucked. Nothing about the show stood out to me as must-see TV. And that is the current theme with WWE programming. None of it is must-see TV. Must-see WWE Backstage. Nobody was watching it, even with CM Punk on there. No more must-see TV because it's fucking canceled. FS1 canceled WWE Backstage, and there's a reason why. Dave Meltzer reported in the latest Observer that the reason why WWE Backstage was canceled was because of the feeling from FS1 that they were spending too much on the show and the low ratings were not justifying the money being put in. CM Punk was signed to do shows once a month, but his presence on the show was not enough to get them over 200,000 viewers. Oftentimes, the show drew less than 100,000 viewers. Meltzer noted that in addition to the on-air talent, they also let a number of employees that worked in production go. According to WWE officials, the old shows that have been airing in prime time will continue to air on FS1. Now, the problem is, Backstage came off as all those other WWE irrelevant, non-important CDE level shows, right? They were loser shows. They were Humberto level shows, loser shows. These talk shows that WWE had tried to get their feet wet with. WWE Backstage, Raw Talk. Talking Smack was really great because of the fucking personalities that shined on there, that they weren't scripted. All of this just seemed like they were trying too hard. And when you try so hard, it's not going to come off genuine. And it's not going to come off genuine. Nobody's going to want to watch overproduced garbage. CM Punk was CM Punk to an extent. But even him, I don't think people gave a shit because that's not the vision that they had in regards to CM Punk coming back to pro wrestling. And with this being included in this, I honestly think he took away from any type of return he ever might have wanted for himself. I don't even think people are even interested in a CM Punk return anymore now because of him being included on this show, whether it was once a month or not. You took away the appeal of CM Punk coming back to pro wrestling by putting him on this when we don't want to see him on this and much rather see him on the show. Now, how are we going to listen to CM Punk shit on WWE television? That's the one thing I will miss about this show. They were never considered big shows. Raw and SmackDown considered main shows, but these shows were never considered main shows by WWE. You would hardly ever see them promoted. You would hardly ever see them talk about what happened on this show. So if you're not making it a big deal, why is anybody else going to make it a big deal? And on top of that, Raw and SmackDown are terrible every week. Why would people want to watch this show when they don't even watch the regular shows on Monday or Friday? They're not watching for a reason, because it's bad. And we don't want to watch people talk about bad television, no matter who's on there. Very simple, folks. The reason why WWE Backstage was canceled. Very simple. Sheamus says a lot of people hated him after current storyline with Jeff Hardy on SmackDown. I don't know why. These are the same people that fucking hated Bobby Lashley and Lana when they were quote-unquote married. People legitimately thought it was real. Why? How stupid do you have to be to think that this is real? Well, you can accuse WWE of many things, and more often than not, you'd be right. You can't accuse them of being sensitive when it comes to real-life issues, such as alcohol, substance abuse, anything regarding Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy walked back into SmackDown and boom, alcoholism, drug abuse, DUIs, piss tests. They don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. 2019 Jeff Hardy was something he would like to forget about. He was arrested twice for alcohol, and I believe he actually got into a domestic violence abuse charge with his wife, checked himself into rehab. He's since returned to the company. WWE chose Sheamus, who also recently returned, as Jeff's first opponent, and as many of you seen, the feud was littered with controversial moments and angles. For example, Sheamus appeared to frame Jeff Hardy for a drunk hit and run, Sheamus constantly mocking Jeff for his history of alcohol abuse, and Jeff throwing urine into Sheamus' face during a doctor's exam. Unsurprisingly, not everyone was a fan of this feud, as Sheamus revealed on Corey Graves after the bell. He says, and I quote, "There was a lot of backlash. A lot of people really hate me right now. At the end of the day, we are characters. My job is to be the most hated character ever, and I thrive in that situation. When I first started, the aggression part of the ring has always been easy for me. I always felt the promos in the ring was where I wasn't sure I needed to be. I would trip over things, I have to say, because I have to get this promo out exactly right. It held me back quite a bit in my career. My look was so unique. I was a big Irish dude. When it came back to the stick, that left a lot to be desired. When you talk about coming back with a passion, I knew there were certain things in my game that I had to work on. When I was Cesaro and the Bar, we weren't challenged in that situation. We shared promos together. There were certain things in my game that needed to be tightened up. One was my physique, which I wasn't happy with. I'm enjoying this stuff with Jeff because it has given my character a lot of opportunity to play with words and watch the reaction, especially on social media, to how much people hate me, the more I enjoy sticking a knife into Jeff, end quote. I don't know why anybody would hate on Sheamus. Sheamus has been one of the bright spots on a very dismal SmackDown show. Every time Sheamus speaks, I find it to be great. I think Sheamus' heel work has been phenomenal in this thing. It's not that I hate Sheamus. I hate the fucking company for kind of making light of what happened to Jeff and really being insensitive about it. I got the DUI. I got the fact that it was a frame job by Sheamus. I don't like the fact that WWE had to dip into that pool and be uncreative. It should have ended after that. They really didn't give Sheamus any direction on SmackDown. He was just there beating up jobbers. And then they just one day, just willy-nilly, feud him with Jeff Hardy. Is that really what I call long-term planning for a returning Sheamus, that you want to be a big part of SmackDown? Seems like he had no plans, and then Jeff Hardy came back and said, you know what? Maybe we should pair Sheamus with Jeff, and we'll bring up Jeff's history of alcoholism and abuse and drug-related issues. Doesn't really sound like a plan to me if you're WWE in regards to Sheamus. Sheamus has been great. And these are the people that actively ruin the show every single week. Yes, it's still real to them. It's a meme. But Sheamus isn't Sheamus that you see on SmackDown. He's not poking Jeff Hardy because he wants to. He's not poking Jeff Hardy because he's a dick. He's only playing a character. Just like everybody else is playing a character. Just like Alexa Bliss is playing a character. And Roman Reigns is playing a character. I don't hate on Lexi Kaufman. I don't hate on Joseph Anoa'i. It's the Roman Reigns and Alexa Bliss character. I don't hate Ashley Flair. I don't. It's Charlotte I don't like. And the fact of the matter is, the characters that are being portrayed and the characters that are being pushed and the people that are writing for these characters, that's where I have an issue. Not the character itself. The person playing the character. Come on. Give me a break. WWE, finally, before I get the hell out of here. The SmackDown Hacker storyline is not dead. Many fans are now disappointed that the storyline has just been erased from television. It's been dropped with no hacker vignettes on WWE programming for the last month or so. However, a recent report would indicate that plans for the hacker angle are not dead, and it appears that we could get a payoff in the coming weeks and months. Ringside News is reporting that this week that the angle has not officially been dropped, with people in the know being particularly coy when asked about the angle. Ringside News has learned that the SmackDown hacker angle is not dead. Something is still going on, but they are waiting. We are told by a source in the company that those in the know are being coy about the subject. Now, the original planned payoff for the hacker storyline confused some people, with it being theorized that the culmination of the angle could reveal in more than one person being involved. Now, the names mentioned were Ali. He got moved to Monday Night Raw. We have not seen him yet. He got moved to Monday Night Raw because he was very outspoken about what Jackson Riker had said about the Black Lives Matter movement. So they moved him over to Monday Night Raw. That's the reason why. That wasn't reported, but that's my assumption there. Chad Gable was also a part of this in the rumor mill to be part of it with Ali. It was going to be a two-man duo. Now Chad Gable's back on TV as He Who Shall Not Be Named, and clearly that is not going to end up being Chad Gable. The other name was Xavier Woods. Now, unless they want a breakup of the New Day, I don't see Xavier Woods being that. Maybe this is a way for Xavier Woods to get back into relevancy back on WWE program. Maybe he wants something different for himself. Maybe he doesn't want to go right back to the New Day because it's the same old. Maybe Xavier Woods wants to challenge himself and be different and not go back to what he knows best, and that is the New Day. Maybe he wants to turn heel. Maybe he wants to be on his own. He's good enough to go on his own. He doesn't need the New Day. I've always said it for months, years I've said it. Xavier Woods is incredibly underrated as a solo act. Maybe he wants to be the hacker. Could play into his internet personality. I don't know. Could be CM Punk. I doubt that, but that was in the report. WWE may be contemplating bringing back CM Punk for a storyline with the hacker actually being revealed to be the hacker. I mean, you're going to bring CM Punk back to be the fucking SmackDown hacker? Give me a break. But now they've taken it off TV. You've gotten away from everybody that actually had an interest in it. This hacker gimmick actually played a part in storylines. It played a part in the Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville split. So for you to drop it and have an integral part in a storyline that you played out during WrestleMania would be kind of silly and irresponsible of you to drop it. I hope it's not dropped. I like teases like that. It could be the introduction of a new talent. Could be someone from NXT. But I don't like the fact that they used it in main roster storylines that had major implications as a WrestleMania match goes, and then all of a sudden you drop it. That's very creatively irresponsible. But what else? It's WWE. Guys, I'm getting out of here. Hopefully you enjoyed the podcast today, and I will be back on Saturday with more news and rumors coming out of Monday Night Raw. You do not want to miss this story. Major story coming out of Monday Night Raw where the roster actually wants Seth Rollins to lead a walkout of the locker room over COVID-19 WWE procedures. Major story happening on Off the Script tomorrow. You don't want to miss it. Follow me on Twitter, guys, at JD from NY206. That is on Twitter and Instagram. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. If you missed any of the podcast earlier this week, down below in the description is all you need. Listen to me on Apple and Spotify. Leave me a 5-star rating if you can on Apple. Get the podcast trending on the iTunes top 100 wrestling podcasts in the United States. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on that bell for all notifications. Hit that thumbs up. And Ridge, my sponsor for today's show, The Ridge. Get 10% off on anything that they present on their website using our unique link, ridge.com/script. Code SCRIPT for 10% off. Guys, I'll be back right here on your 4th of July. Don't miss it. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you right back here tonight for SmackDown as we talk Gulak Styles and our bro, Matt Riddle. Also, Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt and the Swamp match that will take place at the Horror Show. There's only one Horror Show, folks, and that's tonight on SmackDown. See you guys later.